Master the art of seduction. Rejecting women is a skill. Gentlemen, are you feeling exhausted from always having to lower yourself? Ever felt drained because you're always the giver in your relationships? Wanting is free. Giving is costly. It's time to flip the script. Today, we're diving into why rejecting women is a skill every successful man needs to master. This isn't about being rude or unkind. It's about setting boundaries, managing your resources, and maintaining your self-respect. Get ready to learn how saying no can actually strengthen your relationships, boost your confidence, and keep you from burning out. So grab your headphones, hit play, and let's unlock the secrets to mastering the art of rejection without losing your cool. The asymmetry of wanting and giving. Imagine you're walking down the street and every single person you pass asks you for a $100 bill. Ridiculous, right? You'd be broke in no time. Now, let's translate this into the dynamics of wanting and giving in relationships. Wanting is free. It's like asking for that $100 bill. It costs nothing to want, and you can ask as often as you like. But giving, that's costly. Giving involves real resources, time, energy, and sometimes even your peace of mind. Think about the last time someone asked you for a favor. Maybe it was a friend needing help moving, or a colleague wanting your input on a project. Did you notice how easy it was for them to ask? Now, reflect on how much effort it took you to deliver. This is the essence of the asymmetry between wanting and giving. Wanting is a low-cost, low-risk endeavor. Anyone can want anything at any time without much consequence. It's like window shopping, browsing through life's offerings without the need to make a purchase. But the act of giving, that's where the rubber meets the road. When you give, you're investing your finite resources. It's like pulling out your wallet and handing over your hard-earned cash. This disparity creates a unique dynamic in relationships, especially for men who are often seen as providers. Society teaches men from a young age to be the givers, the protectors and providers. But here's the kicker. Constantly giving without consideration can lead to burnout and resentment. The more you give, the more is expected, creating a never-ending cycle that can be draining. In romantic relationships, this dynamic can become even more pronounced. The more successful and desirable you become, the more people will want from you. It's not just about money or gifts. It's about your time, your attention, and your emotional energy. And while wanting is free for them, your giving comes at a steep cost. Be mindful of your resources. Understand that giving is costly, and learn to balance your generosity with self-preservation. This foundational understanding sets the stage for our next discussion on why it's essential to master the skill of rejecting women and managing your resources effectively. The stereotype of men as providers and its impact. Ever wonder why men are often seen as the ones who must provide and protect? It's not just a coincidence, it's a deeply ingrained social script. From a young age, boys are taught to be the strong ones, the providers, the problem solvers. This conditioning creates an unconscious reinforcement protocol, shaping behaviors and expectations that last a lifetime. Let's break this down. Social conditioning starts early. Think about the toys we give boys: action figures, building blocks, and toy cars. These toys emphasize action, construction, and movement, traits associated with provision and protection. Meanwhile, girls receive dolls and play sets that emphasize nurturing and care. This early divergence sets the stage for lifelong roles, men as providers and women as nurturers. These social scripts create an unconscious reinforcement protocol. When men give, whether it's their time, resources, or emotional support, they receive positive reinforcement. Society praises men for being generous, for being there, for providing. This praise feels good, reinforcing the behavior. On the flip side, when men don't give, they often face negative reinforcement, They might be labeled as selfish, uncaring, or unmanly. This negative feedback discourages men from saying no, even when it's in their best interest. But here's the twist. This dynamic creates an asymmetry in incentives between men and women. For women, wanting is low cost and low risk. They can ask for what they want without much consequence. But for men, giving is high cost and high risk. Every act of giving depletes their resources, time, energy, money, that could be spent on personal growth or self-care. Take a moment to think about how this plays out in your own life. Have you ever felt pressured to say yes to a request, even when you knew it wasn't in your best interest? If you're constantly giving without considering your own needs, resentment can build. You might feel unappreciated or taken for granted. And when your resources are depleted, you're less able to be there for the people who truly matter. So, what's the solution? It starts with awareness. Recognize the social scripts that drive your behavior. Question them. Ask yourself whether these scripts serve you or whether they drain you. Are you ready to challenge the status quo and take control of your life? Stick around, because the next segment will dive deeper into the psychology behind rejecting women and how it can actually strengthen your relationships and personal well-being. Time is your most valuable resource. Just wanting time isn't reason enough to give it. I want my own time too. So, just like you wouldn't stand on the street handing out $100 bills to anyone who asks, you can't give your time to everyone who asks. Men need to learn how to say no to women. Thank you for sticking with me through this segment. What do you think about the lessons so far? If you found them valuable, comment 1. If you think they could be deeper, comment 0. The scarcity mindset. Now, the main reason guys really struggle to say no to women, besides the previously mentioned cultural scenarios, is the scarcity mindset. This mindset can be a major roadblock in learning to reject women effectively. So, what is the scarcity mindset? Simply put, it's the belief that there are not enough resources, be it opportunities, relationships, or successes, to go around. Men with this mindset feel like they have limited options and that they must cling to whatever they have, no matter how detrimental it might be. It's like if I only had one client, it would be very hard to turn down that client, even if their requests deviated from my standard practices. I would be stuck between my values and my livelihood, a pretty tough place to be. I might need that client more than they need me, which would put me at a power disadvantage compared to them. This dynamic often manifests in relationships. Men without options feel pressured to comply with their partner's demands even when those demands are unreasonable. The fear of being alone or not finding someone else keeps them trapped. This is why men with more options tend to be more confident and assertive. They aren't forced to compromise their values for any one person. Think about how this plays out in dating. A man who believes he has limited dating prospects will bend over backward to keep a woman interested, even if it means sacrificing his own needs and desires. This is not just about romantic relationships, but also applies to friendships, work relationships, and family dynamics. So, a lot of guys can't grasp the concept of saying no to a woman because that woman is like their only client. Success and having options change this dynamic entirely. When a man has multiple opportunities, be it in business, social circles, or dating, he's not afraid to say no. He knows his worth and recognizes that he doesn't need to compromise his values to keep someone around. This is why success can make men more ethical and grounded. They are free to act in alignment with their true selves. Imagine if you had multiple clients lined up, each valuing your work and willing to pay your rates. Turning down unreasonable requests becomes easier because you know you have other opportunities. This abundance mindset applies to relationships too. Knowing you have options empowers you to set boundaries and reject what doesn't serve you. So, is this the ultimate solution to the problem? Stay tuned for the next part. The fear of emotional reactions. Alright, Let's assume you're a successful guy with plenty of options. Why is it still so tough to say no to women? One word: fear. Fear of their emotional reactions. Men often worry about provoking anger or jeopardizing relationships by saying no, and this fear can be paralyzing. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." In our context, this translates to not fearing the emotional fallout of rejection, but fearing the consequences of not living authentically and setting boundaries. Let's dig into why this fear exists. Culturally, men are often conditioned to keep the peace, to avoid conflict at all costs. We grow up learning that making others happy is a priority, even if it means sacrificing our own needs. This is especially true in romantic relationships, where men are often expected to be the stable, accommodating partner. And let's be honest, that can definitely happen. There are many empowered women out there who were daddy's little princess and haven't experienced enough personal rejection from men. She hasn't developed the emotional resilience to take a no as information rather than a personal insult. So, while there's a chance a woman might storm out of your life if you don't give her what she wants, that could be a reason. But beyond culture, personal upbringing plays a significant role. Many men were raised in environments where emotional manipulation was the norm. If you grew up with a domineering mother or manipulative siblings, you were likely trained from a young age to avoid rocking the boat. These early experiences teach you to fear emotional reactions, to see them as catastrophic rather than just part of human interaction. This fear is compounded by the fact that many men internalize these reactions. If a woman storms out of your life because you didn't give her what she wanted, it's easy to blame yourself. But let's flip the script. If she leaves because of a single no, was she really there for you or for what you could provide? Sometimes a woman's departure is a blessing in disguise, creating space for healthier relationships. So, how do you overcome this fear? Start by recognizing that emotions are just that, emotions. They're not the end of the world. Practice setting small boundaries and work your way up. Communicate clearly and calmly. And remember, you have the right to say no without guilt. To put it in perspective, think of emotional reactions like stormy weather. Just because a storm hits doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It's a temporary condition that will pass. Your role isn't to control the weather, but to navigate through it with resilience and clarity. Internalized guilt and obligation. Let's dive into another core reason why men find it difficult to reject women: the deep-rooted sense of duty and compassion. This ties back to the cultural and familial teachings that shape our understanding of gender roles. From a young age, many men are taught to be the protectors, the providers, the knights in shining armor. These ingrained beliefs can make saying no feel like a betrayal of their fundamental role. First, let's talk about the sense of duty. This is a powerful driver in a man's life. From the time we are boys, we hear stories of brave men who sacrifice everything for their loved ones. While these stories inspire nobility, they also plant the seed of an unyielding duty to always be the giver, the fixer, and the protector. Saying no then feels like failing to live up to this noble ideal. It feels like you're letting someone down, and that's a tough pill to swallow. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you said yes to something just because it felt like the right thing to do? Maybe you agreed to help a friend move house even when you were exhausted, or you stayed late at work to help a colleague finish a project, sacrificing your own plans. This sense of duty, while admirable, can often lead to burnout and resentment when it goes unchecked. Compounding this sense of duty is the profound guilt and compassion that many men feel. It's not just about fulfilling a role, it's about empathy and kindness. Men are wired to care for the people around them, to protect and provide emotional support. Rejecting someone, especially a woman, can feel like an act of cruelty. The thought of causing disappointment or hurt weighs heavily on the mind. Men often struggle with these feelings because of the societal expectation to always be the strong, dependable one. Compassion and empathy are beautiful traits, but they should not come at the expense of your well-being. So, how do you navigate this? Start by recognizing that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you're not compassionate or caring. In fact, setting boundaries is one of the most compassionate things you can do, for yourself and for others. When you take care of your own needs, you're in a better position to genuinely help others without resentment or exhaustion. Before diving into the most exciting part of today's video, rejecting women is a skill, let's take a quick break. Share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to click the link and subscribe to support the channel. Rejecting women is a skill. So, we've established why rejecting women can be challenging due to social conditioning, the scarcity mindset, and internalized guilt and compassion. Now, let's flip the script and talk about how to give refusals in a positive manner. You might be wondering, is it even possible to say no without hurting someone's feelings? Absolutely, it's all about the approach. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This Stoic wisdom teaches us that we don't have to mirror negativity when setting boundaries. Instead, we can deliver our refusals with kindness and respect, turning a potentially hurtful situation into a constructive one. Hey man, rejecting women is a skill you need to learn, bro. The first key to giving a positive refusal is empathy. Understand where the other person is coming from. When you acknowledge their perspective, it softens the blow. For instance, if a woman asks you for a favor and you can't oblige, start by validating her request. You might say, "I understand why you need help with this, and I appreciate that you thought of me." This shows that you value her needs even if you can't meet them. Next, be clear and concise. Ambiguity can lead to misunderstandings and false hope. If you can't do something, state it plainly but gently. For example, "I wish I could help, but I have other commitments that I need to prioritize right now." Clarity ensures that your message is understood and respected. Offering alternatives can also soften a refusal. Suggest another way she might get what she needs, or propose a different time when you might be available. This demonstrates that you're not simply shutting her down, but are interested in finding a solution. For example, "I can't help you move this weekend, but maybe we can find someone else to assist, or I can help you next week instead." Another effective strategy is to express gratitude. Let her know that you appreciate her understanding and her respect for your boundaries. A simple, "Thank you for understanding," can go a long way in maintaining goodwill and mutual respect. Humor, when used appropriately, can also ease the tension of a refusal. Lightening the mood can help both parties feel more comfortable. Just ensure that the humor is gentle and doesn't belittle the other person's request. For instance, "I'd love to help, but my superhero cape is at the dry cleaners this week." Remember, the goal is to communicate your boundaries while preserving the relationship. A positive refusal is not just about saying no, it's about showing respect for both your own needs and the other person's. This approach can leave both parties feeling valued and respected, rather than hurt or rejected. Let me tell you an example of how positive rejection can work wonders. Sometimes, saying no is actually the best solution at the moment. A few years ago, I went on a first date with a woman. We met for drinks, enjoyed a relaxed and engaging conversation, flirted with great chemistry, and then parted ways. A week later, I texted her to arrange a second date. Within 2 minutes, she called me, and we had a brief 3-minute conversation that went something like this. She said, "I received your invitation, and here's the thing. Based on our date last week, I can see you're the kind of man I could fall deeply, madly in love with. You're attractive, intelligent, successful, everything I'm looking for in a man. But because of that, I'm afraid of losing myself in a relationship with you. So, while I'm tempted, I have to stay away because I'm too drawn to you and wouldn't know how to control myself." I replied, Alright, thanks for letting me know. If you change your mind, you know how to reach me. We hung up, and I walked away from that conversation feeling like $1,000,000. What just happened? This woman had turned down a second date. Let's not sugarcoat it. She rejected me. But she did it in a way that made me feel genuinely good about being rejected. Her rejection felt like a compliment. Now, maybe she was just feeding me a line, but that doesn't really matter. The point is, rejection doesn't have to be a painful or hurtful experience for the recipient if you approach it the right way. This is why rejecting women is a skill, and every successful man needs to master it. Practical tips for rejecting women. Alright, let's flip the script and dive into the juicy benefits of mastering the art of rejection. If you think saying no is just about setting boundaries, think again. It's about becoming the maestro of your own orchestra, conducting your life symphony with precision and purpose. So, why is learning to say no such a game changer? Think of it this way. Relationships are like gardens. If you overwater the plants, they drown. Similarly, if you give too much of yourself without setting limits, you'll end up feeling overwhelmed and resentful. On the flip side, by mastering rejection, you ensure that both you and your partner have room to breathe and grow. This balance is key to maintaining a healthy relationship. Let's start with the first benefit: respect. When you set boundaries and say no when necessary, you teach others to respect your time and needs. This isn't just about avoiding burnout. It's about establishing a mutual respect that is fundamental to any healthy relationship. When your partner sees that you value your own time and energy, they are more likely to appreciate and respect your boundaries. This respect fosters a deeper connection and understanding between you. Next, let's talk about honesty. Clear boundaries and the ability to say no contribute to open and honest communication. When you're upfront about your limits, you encourage your partner to do the same. This transparency builds trust, which is the cornerstone of any strong relationship. When both partners feel they can express their needs and limitations without fear of judgment or retaliation, the relationship becomes a safe space for both to thrive. Lastly, let's discuss balance. Healthy relationships require a balance between giving and receiving. If one partner is always giving and the other always receiving, it creates an imbalance that can lead to dissatisfaction and conflict. By learning to say no, you help maintain this balance. You ensure that both partners contribute equally to the relationship's well-being, fostering a sense of partnership and equality. Think of a balanced relationship as a well-tuned piano. If one key is struck too often while others are neglected, the music becomes discordant. But when each key is played in harmony, the result is beautiful music. Similarly, when both partners respect each other's boundaries and contribute equally, the relationship flourishes. In conclusion, mastering the art of rejection isn't about pushing people away. It's about bringing them closer in a healthier, more respectful way. By setting boundaries, you cultivate respect, foster honesty, and maintain balance, all of which are essential for a thriving relationship. Embrace the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and take control of your interactions. By saying no when necessary, you're saying yes to a more fulfilling, balanced, and healthy relationship. Is every act of giving costly? You might be thinking, am I being too calculative in matters of love? Should we really weigh the pros and cons of giving and receiving in relationships? These are valid questions, and it's important to explore them with an open mind. Let's get one thing straight. Giving in relationships is natural and can be incredibly rewarding. It's not about never giving, it's about finding a balance. Think of it like managing a budget. Just because you need to be mindful of your spending doesn't mean you should never treat yourself. Similarly, in relationships, it's about giving in a way that feels right for you and doesn't lead to resentment or depletion. Imagine you're at a dinner party. The host offers you a delicious-looking dessert, but you've already had a huge meal and feel full. Would you take the dessert just to be polite, even if it makes you uncomfortable? Or would you politely decline and save room for something you truly want later? Relationships work in much the same way. If giving feels like a burden, it's worth reconsidering. Ask yourself, do you feel happy when you give? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and give. Acts of kindness and generosity can strengthen your bond and bring joy to both you and your partner. However, if you feel a moment of hesitation, it's essential to take a step back and think it through. Your feelings are valid, and honoring them is crucial for your well-being. Women often express their desires, and that's perfectly normal. However, it's how these desires are communicated and responded to that makes the difference. A reasonable woman will respect what her man can offer and understand if he needs to say no. If you've expressed your boundaries and she continues to push, it's a red flag. This isn't about love, it's about control, and it's a sign of a potentially toxic relationship. The key takeaway here is that giving should come from a place of genuine willingness, not obligation or fear. If you find joy in giving, then it's a positive contribution to your relationship. But if giving feels like a duty, it's time to reassess. Your happiness and mental health are paramount. In conclusion, it's not about weighing every act of giving as a transaction, but about ensuring that your generosity doesn't come at the expense of your well-being. Embrace the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, find contentment within yourself, and approach your relationships with a balanced mindset. Giving and receiving should enhance your life, not drain it. Mastering the art of saying no. As we wrap up our exploration of why rejecting women is a crucial skill, let's focus on how this practice enhances your life and relationships. Saying no isn't about being cold or dismissive. It's about preserving your well-being and maintaining your self-respect. Think of your life as a valuable asset that requires careful management. Mastering the art of saying no is like safeguarding your most precious resources: time, energy, and emotional stability. Consider a practical example. A successful man with multiple business opportunities isn't afraid to turn down deals that don't align with his goals because he knows there are other opportunities. Similarly, in relationships, knowing you have options allows you to say no to situations that don't serve you, maintaining your integrity and well-being. Finally, remember that saying no can be done positively. It's about finding a balance between empathy and firmness. By offering alternatives and expressing gratitude, you can maintain respect and understanding in your relationships. For example, "I can't help with this project now, but I appreciate you thinking of me. Maybe we can find another solution together." Mastering the art of rejection is about protecting your resources, living authentically, and fostering healthy, balanced relationships. By setting clear boundaries and saying no when necessary, you ensure that your giving is sustainable and meaningful. Embrace the wisdom of setting limits and let it guide you to a more fulfilling, balanced, and respectful life. Alright, gentlemen, let's wrap this up. We've explored the crucial skill of rejecting women and why it's essential for maintaining balance in your relationships. Remember, wanting is free, but giving is costly. It's about protecting your time, energy, and resources. Saying no isn't about being selfish, it's about ensuring that your generosity doesn't drain you. By setting boundaries, you build respect, foster honesty, and maintain a healthy relationship dynamic. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this video with someone who might need it. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more insights and advice on mastering the art of relationships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your head high and your boundaries firm.